Hey, fam, and welcome to the Peel Back. Thank you so much for joining us for the very first episode. This will be a place where we dive a little bit deeper into subjects that we experience in our day to day lives as two Black women in America with a combined wealth of experiences and through very different lenses. Together, we'll find the nuance in every situation and peel back those layers in your experiences and our own to help bridge some gaps across the various intersectionalities of the diaspora. How, you ask? Well, you'll just have to stick around and find out now, won't you? My name is Trinity, but you can call me Trin. And my co-host and mom, we've got Mimi. Miss Mimi if you're nasty.
Hey, family!
So again, welcome to the Peel Back. We are very excited to jump into this journey with y'all, so thank you for listening. This is going to be a show focused on bridging gaps and finding understanding amongst one another. In times where we all feel so isolated and constantly wonder how we got here, we can at least answer some of the questions that will help us, and you know what else I'm talking about, to understand each other more. We'll get into relationships, family, love across the gender and sexual spectrum, society, maybe some politics, religion, or lack thereof. You name it, though. We'll get into it. There are roads we won't cross, and we don't aim to alienate or dismiss experiences outside of ours. But we will protect our space and those who rock with us. Play around with your own mama, not here. Moving on. This first episode will not include video like feature releases, and will be a small discussion between Mimi and I just to break some ground with you all. Our goal, however, is to sit with and synthesize tougher questions in the future in a safe space without judgment, but instead open-mindedness and the desire to learn about one another together. So without further ado, let's peel back. Mimi, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Peelback family. This is Mimi, Miss Mimi, mother of Trinity, and I am so excited about the Peelback. I'm excited to get to meet a lot of you and hear what you think about our topics of discussion. I think I'm more excited about what we are doing with the Peelback because I get to learn from you guys. I get to share my thoughts and opinions, hear what you all have to say, and do what I like to do best. I like to educate and be educated. So I'm ready to get into this topic today. I got a question, y'all. I have this topic that I've been wanting to talk about, and this may be something that everybody else is so educated on. They have all this knowledge, but I don't. So, as we know, I'm still learning. So, what I wanted to start off with is I want to be educated on what is so upsetting to a lot of cis women about the term cis versus trans. Let me clarify what I'm saying. There are a lot of us born biological women that I've heard and I've read and I've seen over the years that are really in their feelings about being called a cis woman, right? It's like, why do I have to add that on? I'm a woman. Like, I don't, just to please you, and I don't want to have to add cis. Educate me on why that's so upsetting. Should I be offended? Like, what?
I hear you. Really good question. So let's educate the people who don't know. I cannot claim to be an expert, but I know enough about this topic, identifying as a trans woman myself for the better part of a decade and researching it for far longer. So let's start with a few definitions. The prefix cis, spelled C-I-S, not S-I-S, as in what's good, sis, means to be on the side of or on this side, where trans means to be on the other side of or to change or transfer. What does that mean in relation to gender? So to be cis is to be on the side of your assigned sex at birth, and to be trans is the opposition of that. All who do not identify with their assigned sex at birth fall under the trans umbrella, even though some may not claim that box. But that's a deeper layer for another time. Getting into the discussion of being assigned at birth, however, let's dive a little bit into that. You may also be hearing terms more recently like AMAB, assigned male at birth, or AFAB, assigned female at birth. And you kind of just hinted at that, Mimi. So if you're assigned female at birth, like yourself, you still identify as a female or a woman. You are then cisgender. It just means that you're still on the side of or identifying with that gender. That's all it is. Nothing to be afraid of, nothing at all to try and distance yourself from. You don't have to change the way that you behave in this world in any way, shape, or form. You're recognized for who you are and what your assigned sex was at birth, remaining that way. When it comes to transgender people, like myself, all that the trans prefix means is that you're not on the side of or that you are disconnected from said gender in that regard, that you are transitioning to a different gender or not identifying with one at all. So, to be transgender means that I, somebody who was assigned male at birth or AMAB, no longer identify with and haven't really ever identified exclusively as male. So, I consider myself a trans woman, and I include that prefix because I stand for who I am in the journey that I've been on thus far, as well as the representation that we all still need to be real. I like to say, yeah, I'm all woman and always have been, regardless of what you saw on the exterior. But a lot of people still don't recognize us that way and then find a lot of issues with it, rooted in ignorance, of course. These are the gaps we'll be bridging here, though. No one is walking around just calling people cisgender or cis, CIS. It's always in relation to someone who isn't for contextual purposes. To cap that, though, that's all being cis or trans is, so nothing to be afraid of, right?
I love it. And see, I just learned something else because I never, until you just said it, heard of AFAB or I never heard of those terms until literally just now. So I love that. I get it. I wanted to ask because knowledge excites me. Being aware excites me. I have never considered myself to be a closed minded person in any aspect. Thank you for the education because I needed that. I had no clue. So now that I've been educated on CIS, AMAP, and AFAB, I'm even more excited because I had no idea. So thank you, darling. I appreciate that.
Of course.
And so now that we've covered that, I am curious about something else. So let's talk about it.
What you got?
All right. So just to let you guys know, so I have been a bit curious on ethical non monogamy and polyamory. Yes. And let me tell you why, sweetheart. Because as a hetero woman, I have a bit of obsession with these particular reality shows. Now, I'm not big on reality TV, but for some reason, all of the reality shows about polygamy have just gained my attention. I think that there are 20, don't quote me on this, 27, 28 seasons of Sister Wives. Have you ever heard of that?
Ooh, yeah, I've heard
Have
of it.
you?
I
Okay,
have, yeah.
well, let me just tell you that I have watched every episode and every season of Sister Wives. Okay, there is another one called Seeking. I think it's Seeking Sister Wives. Every episode, every season of that. And then there's
Wow.
another one. I can't think of the name of it right now because I think it only had like 2 seasons and it's been a while. But anyway,
Mhm.
I have this obsession with them. And what I think what's funny about it for me is I am a woman that considers myself to be selfish when it comes to relationships. I've
Mhm.
always said that I just cannot see myself sharing my man. And so I think that's why it's funny to me that I have fallen so deep into these shows and this topic because I can't. That's not me. And so
Mhm.
but I find it so interesting watching them and watching both the wife and the husband be so open to adding another
Mhm.
party to their relationships. And so I, I'm so curious about what that's like in the community, in the LGBTQ plus community, because you all, my precious babies, deal with enough, right? Y'all deal with
Mhm.
enough already, just being who you are and loving the skin that you're in. But
Mhm.
when it comes to being in the community and being open to the poly lifestyle, I'm just curious as to how you navigate through that. What's it like?
Yeah. Okay, amazing
I
topic.
know I
Really,
hit you
really
with
good
a
one.
lot. I know I hit you with a
Yeah.
lot.
No, it's all good. And I mean, this is exactly what we want to talk about, right? So like jumping into it, just like we did before, I do have experience with ethical non-monogamy and polyamory myself. And I will say right off the bat that it's not exclusive to the LGBTQIA2 plus community. Anybody can practice E&M and polyamory. That does not fall underneath the queer umbrella. And so, to start off, just to make sure we are keeping along with educating the family. When it comes to ethical non monogamy, you may see those a lot more on like dating apps and things like that now, denoted as the acronym ENM. So, ethical non monogamy refers to the practice of engaging in romantic or sexual relationships with multiple partners, with the full knowledge and consent of everyone involved. So, this just means that everyone in this relationship, whether you are married, not married, just dating, whatever it may be, if you are open, as a lot of people will call it, and everyone agrees with this, there are different ways that you can structure your relationship. And ethically, that ethical part of it just means that everyone is knowledgeable about what's going on. So it is not cheating in a way, or it's not cheating at all because everyone, has come to an agreement to say we all agree that hey, you can date outside, we both can date outside, we'll date together or we will date separately. And so, yeah, full transparency, open communication, mutual agreement, which is what really distinguishes it from infidelity or cheating. And that is the part that I want to hit on the most because these types of relationships take a lot of open communication and transparency. If you are somebody that hides a ton, or you're with somebody that hides a ton, um, or you don't necessarily feel like you can be open with more than one person, this probably is not for you. I would stick to the monogamy of it all, and that
Hmm.
is what a lot of us have come to know as the standard, quote unquote, of relationships. So, ethical non monogamy and polyamory are sort of the same thing. Polyamory, I think, is what more people were calling it over the last 20 years or so. You'll start to see ethical non monogamy or E&M a lot more. But it is the same thing. Polyamory just involves multiple romantic relationships with the consent of all partners. So open relationships typically involve one or two people, again, in a relationship who have opened themselves up to either one other individual or multiple other individuals. And so let's just go with a stereotypical male female heterosexual relationship, just to define it for some, right? What that means is you are primary partners. So that male and that female are primary partners. These two are the ones that typically start the relationship with the others or open up to others, and they have a dedication to each other that is slightly different than their outside relationships or their forked relationships. So these take on a lot of different structures. You'll see that sometimes one partner will be dating outside of the primary relationship, whereas the other is fine. They're comfortable with just the primary relationship and they've got enough going on or whatever it may be, that they are satiated and don't need anything additional in that regard. Sometimes you will see that both partners are wanting to date outside of the relationship or to date other people together. And so you'll, I'm sure you've heard of like the couple at the bar looking for their unicorn. Like that's,
Mhm.
that is
Mhm.
that type of thing. So unicorn does have some negative connotation to it. Unicorn hunting is not really a great thing. Typically, it puts that person in a space of um, control that they, or of lack of control rather, that is uncomfortable, and they tend to be used in a way that they may not want to be used. Some people appreciate that, some don't. But yeah, when it comes to ethical non-monogamy, there are folks that will bring in an additional person to their primary relationship. So that's where thruples come from, right?
Mhm.
And so on and so forth. There's even this cute little Asian quadruple, I think is what it's called. It's four of them, four males that just has the cutest little relationship that I see all the time on socials. And all of them are just together. That's just what it is for them. On another
Really?
side, yeah, yeah, that is, it's fully a thing that has been practiced apparently since the Middle Ages, stemming from polygamy, and I'll get to that in just a second. But other structures within the ethical non-monogamy or open relationship community can be, again, each partner dating separately of each other, so they are primaries, or even nesting partners, which means that they live with one another. So you are with this person primarily, but each of you is dating and seeing other people individually, obviously with your own rules, your own boundaries, and so on and so forth. So you tend to hear talk of like, hey, anytime you are going on a date or planning to see somebody or being sexually active or whatever it may be, like that is something that I want to communicate. Some people will say that, it's a little bit more open than that for them. It's like, I trust you. We've been together for X, Y, Z amount of time. And I trust that, you won't bring anything nasty back to me. So just let me know, if you're seeing somebody new and it's yours from there. But come home
Mhm.
to me, essentially. And so there's a lot of different structures that these relationships can take on. They can get quite large as well, but the the foundation and the grounding aspect of it all is very, very open communication and trust, not only within yourself, but within your partner, your primary partners. In talking
So
about
that's
polygamy and
kinda
sister wives. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say that the basis of it is no different than being in a monogamous relationship because in any relationship, it's all about communication and trust. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
being open with the initial person and then open and honest with the initial person and then being open and honest with the people or person that you're bringing into your relationship. So it's no
You got
different
it.
there. It's extra bodies basically.
Yeah.
And
That is, I mean, that's quite literally it.
that's where I call myself selfish because I just don't want to share. But that's my thing. That's
Yeah.
my thing.
You
But
are,
I
I mean, and
respect
that's the
it. I
thing.
get it.
Yeah.
I actually respect it so much because it's like, oh my God, you are a trooper. Like you are okay. Like to go back to what you were gonna bring up, sister wives. It's literally one husband and four wives. And
Yes.
now in their
Yes.
relationship, they lived, I think initially before they were put before America. I think they might have lived in the same house. I'm not really sure. But when the
Mm,
reality show started, they lived in different homes. And so
I
each of
see.
the wives have their homes, and then the husband would bounce around to the four. And I don't know, I just felt like that was a lot. Like, that was a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so yeah.
So, yeah, to that point, polygamy is different. Polygamy is defined as the practice of marrying multiple spouses, and it is very specifically denoted as a man marrying multiple spouses.
Mhm.
So, there's a polygyny as well. When it comes to polygamy, it's a man marrying more than one wife at the same time. Polygamy has origins from a very, very long time ago, and of course, was a very hierarchical system of one man, probably a king or an emperor of some sort, taking on multiple wives to be able to produce multiple heirs, and so on and so forth. And so that practice actually is not as common, at least to my knowledge, in modern day society, especially non rural societies. However, it's not necessarily the basis of ethical non monogamy or polyamory, because again, you are being a lot more open with one another and allowing everybody within the primary relationship to practice this if they want to. We're not holding anybody, I don't want to say hostage, but you're not holding any one person accountable to only one other person within the primary relationship. Because yeah, then you are getting to the place of that selfishness and saying, especially when it comes to men, that they want their cake and to eat it too, but you just have to kind of sit around and wait for them to be done with somebody else, and that's not how ethical non-monogamy works. And so it's quite a bit more progressive to be ethical non-monogamous or polyamorous in that regard. Yeah, I myself, the sister wives thing is kind of weird to me as well, but I don't yuck anybody's yum. It's just I
Oh my god. I
I
know I don't,
believe,
because I
yeah,
was so
I
into it. Yeah, I was you would think the way I watched the show, you would think that it was a lifestyle that I was interested in, but no,
yeah,
it was interesting to me
yeah,
because I sit here and I'm like, not to judge anybody. I say to
of course,
anybody anywhere, do your thing. Do what makes you happy. I
of
don't care.
course.
But I was like, what about this wife makes her comfortable? Let me say it like that. Just good.
Yeah,
Not that I'm saying it's a good or bad thing.
of
I'm
course,
just
of course.
saying, wow, sis, what is it that makes you so comfortable with sharing this man
Yes.
with three or
Yeah.
four other women? But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
then let me just turn the tables. There was another one called Seeking Brother Husband.
Mhm, mhm.
Yes. This one, the wife, she and her husband, in a relationship, had been in a relationship for years. And then she decided that she wanted another spouse.
Yeah.
And during the course of the show, she did bring in another spouse. And now the show is not on anymore, but just me being nosy and curious, I went and looked up, just to kind of see how they're doing, where they are. And I think that from what I saw, and I may be wrong on this, don't quote me, her husband, the original husband, I think now he's dating
Okay.
somebody else. I think the second husband, I think he's dating somebody else. And
Okay.
then the wife, she has somebody else. So it's a spouse, three husbands, and then each of the initial husbands has their own spouse too. So it's a community.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so I mean that sounds like, so to connect all of this together, that's a perfect example of how they started in a polygynous community. So she was the center point or the focal point of the relationships and had multiple males attached to her, and then it sounds like they bled into ethical non-monogamy. So they are now allowing for everybody to be able to see whomever they want, and it's all kind of a community. And like you said, that is ethical non-monogamy at the end of the day. and the partners of her initial husbands, if you will, don't necessarily have to be involved with one another. In some scenarios they might be. It just all comes down to what makes everybody comfortable. That's it at the end of the day. Is you continue to communicate and see just how you can expand upon affection and your own desires, and what your love languages look like. And that is what the root of all of that is. Not so systemic as polygamy or polygyny, but when it comes to ethical non-monogamy or E&M, the idea of why that's so progressive now and why I think that we're seeing a lot more of it is everyone gets the choice. More specifically, women are getting more of a choice now, where it was all up to the man. The patriarchy would have us say that women belonged to men, and we know that that is
Mhm.
not the case, obviously. So
Yeah.
women are also getting a choice, and everyone is starting to dive a little bit deeper into their own desires and needs and affection types and things like that. And I think that quite a lot of people are realizing that they need more than just one person to be fulfilled in the spaces that they need fulfillment in. And that is what that's at least my understanding of why I practice ethical non-monogamy myself and have been polyamorous for a good 4+ years now. Um, I was in a situation where I went into a relationship where it was one male, one female at the time, and I joined in, but I was more dedicated to the male specifically, and the female in the relationship and I, or the other woman, we were more friends than anything, and you just have to be very, very serious with making sure there are no secrets and you're not hiding anything. And I understand that some people really just need a person all to themselves. I respect that entirely. That's how the majority of the world operates, to be very honest. But there's a lot of us out there too, practicing E&M probably a lot more than you know. That's a whole different thing. It made me think of swingers, the upside down pineapple community. That is a whole different thing. But
Oh my God. Oh
shout
my
out to
God.
y'all.
Why did I get educated on that on my first cruise?
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
knew,
yeah.
oh my God. I knew nothing. Now, mind you, I literally just went on my first cruise last year. Okay.
Okay.
And walking through the hallways and seeing the pineapples, hell, I thought
Yeah.
it was just, okay, this is where the party's gonna be. Okay.
I
Okay.
mean,
So
it
they are
is
party
in a
people.
way.
Okay. 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 When I tell you it was so funny because I felt so lost. I knew nothing. And when I
Mhm.
learned about it, I was like, okay, to each his own, more power to you. But I had no clue that we throwing the pineapple out there like that. The pineapple, like
Yeah.
why do I have to be involved in
Yeah.
this? But yeah, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research on that too. But yeah, I was recently introduced to that a little over a year ago.
That's funny.
That's
Yeah, it that popped into my world quite some time ago. I mean, I have always been curious about relationship structures and stuff like that, which is why I know what I know about this and have practiced what I've practiced. But yeah, those upside down pineapples, that is an invitation to tell you, hey, they are down to clown.
welcome,
Yeah,
welcome.
welcome in. Yeah, I think I've seen one that says plays well with others. It's just an upside down
That is
pineapple,
cute.
and yeah, I know that it's huge on cruises specifically, and obviously that's the
Mhm.
gist.
Just think the cruise that I was on was a family cruise. I can only imagine the pineapples if you
Yeah,
go on the adult cruises.
yeah, it makes
I
sense. The
can
kids don't need
only
to know.
imagine. Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. You'll see a lot more on
That
the
is
adults
something.
only cruises for sure. But yeah, family cruises, hey, those some of those families they got stuff going on too. The suburbs is the
Obviously.
Yeah. Those places aren't as neat and squeaky as you think that they are, but, yeah, yeah, really, that's what all of that boils down to. It's just people seeking out more ways to be, loving and affectionate to other people. I mean, I know of relationships that have lasted, over a decade and decades, and it's just, it's what works, and that's all that this is about. Like, we restrict ourselves enough, I believe, in this life to try and fit so many different molds and labels, that it kind of sucks that we were taught for so long that the standard, if you will, aside of
Mhm.
heterosexuality, was to confine our affection to a singular other soul on this planet of over, 7 billion, probably 8 billion people now. As we said in the earlier bit of the episode, I'm very open minded, and I have always just connected a little bit more so to the idea of connection to as many people as you possibly can. And that doesn't necessarily mean, hoeing around and,
Right.
stuff like that. That's not what this is. And
Right.
it's not an excuse for those who are out there who are telling themselves right now, oh, no, this is just an excuse
Exactly.
to, hoe around. That's not what it is. It's a little bit more than that. We've all been in spaces, I know that we have, where it's like this partner or this person meets these needs for me. And maybe if you're lucky, or maybe unlucky in this regard, you've had a partner where it's like, oh, they meet all of these needs, but they don't meet X, Y, and Z. What do I do in that
Mhm.
scenario? You're kind of stuck and you're uncertain of how to bring in those other desires of yours, or how to meet those needs of yours. And this is kind of a way of doing that. Whether it be, it can be something as simple as like, oh, this person likes scary movies and like my primary partner doesn't. Like, we go to the
Yeah.
horror movies together and we kiss a lot. Like, it can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to always
Yeah.
be sexual either. There are certainly structures that involve exterior partners or secondary to tertiary partners that are there for mental clarity and being able to
Mhm.
gain perspective outside of what you're used to. And you can say, oh, that's just a therapist. No, not necessarily. Like, sometimes you just need a friend to rap with about certain things. And so yeah, it don't try and restrict it. I think that anyone trying to restrict it to one certain thing is missing the point entirely
I
and
agree.
not really allowing themselves to be open-minded enough to really consider what this is. So, yeah, that
I
is
agree
ethical
because
non-monogamy.
I've seen that on the shows that I've watched, and then even on, social media. I've
Yeah.
seen it to where I've seen, some of the women say things like, I wanted, that extra person to help with the
Mhm.
kids," or
Mhm. Mhm.
there are times when I just don't wanna be in the mindset of the spouse. And I want
Yeah.
somebody else to maybe take that off of me. I want,
Yeah. Yeah.
a sister here to maybe, for lack of a better way to put it, deal with him when I just don't want to.
Yes.
This person
Yeah.
this person can be a mother to the kids when I just don't want to,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen it, and I will say this, that's one of the things that I love about being in a free space, in a
Mhm.
sense of, we all have one life to live. Live it in a way that you have peace. Live it
Yeah.
in a way that brings you joy.
Yeah.
Live your life to fulfill you. As long as the way you live your life doesn't hurt anybody else, then live your life.
Mhm.
And if that
Yeah.
means that you want one partner, if that means you want 10 partners, if it's not hurting anybody, then live your life.
Exactly. That is, I mean, that's the philosophy entirely, right? If you are not harming anybody, if you are being truthful to yourself and others without anybody else suffering in any way, shape, or form from that, you're fine. Do what you want to do. So, yeah,
Exactly.
there are a lot of people out there who love to judge others and make other people's business their business. Stop. just stop. That's the
Exactly.
those are
Exactly.
the people that brought us to where we are now in this country specifically. Like, we are teetering on collapse at the moment, and it is very, very much so because people just don't know how to mind their business. And
Mhm. Mhm.
the choices that we've made are so barbaric and old and just out of time. And I think too many of us as citizens and regular everyday people have brought that into our own lives and judge other people based on those types of hate and the lack of being able to understand your own feelings about topics that are just larger than you. So that's why
Exactly.
I'm excited to continue to educate the family here on the peel back. And yeah, we'll keep it going. But this has been a good one. I really appreciated this. Yeah.
Peel Back family, we need you to chime in. Let us know what your thoughts are. If you've ever encountered someone that has a problem with the way you identify or how you may have identified them, what are your thoughts? How do you see it? Is it the negative, the positive? Let us know. Write in, send us a message. Let us know what you're thinking.
Exactly. We want to hear back from you. There are a lot of people out here who react first before educating themselves on these topics. And a lot of what we're going to try and do here, family, is minimize those misunderstandings with knowledge, which we know is what? Power. We
Correct.
want to be able to close up the spaces where it feels like the miseducation of a lot of us has bred anger, the ugliest shroud for ignorance.
Yeah.
We want to try and dismantle a lot of that extra generational anger between or within families, parents and their children, children and their parents. We know that there are a lot of folks who might hear this and have to deal with the consequences of those innate differences that they didn't necessarily choose, but have created some risks born from confusion and, again, ignorance.
Yeah.
We want to be able to say to all of those people, hey, there's something else to that. You're angry for a very specific reason. Your reaction and your emotions to the situation are valid in a way, but let's try and understand a better way to approach it.
That's what's needed. That is what's needed.
So, family, we want to hear from you all on topics you want to peel back on, and they don't have to be personal necessarily, like this one. We just want to expand the conversations you're curious about or having already. In future episodes, we plan to discuss how communication and respect has changed over the last few decades, elaborating on the varying perspectives of that. Gentle parenting, is it helping or is it hurting? And where's the line for all of you? What are you doing in your own households? Are you a Tom Dubois or a Huey Freeman? What brought you to where you are now? And which one feels better? And Black women, where are you at with the journey of self-preservation? Are you still putting everyone else above yourself, or are you able to finally step back and let good enough be what it is? Be honest. We want to know. Email us your thoughts at thepeelbackpod@gmail.com. Message us on Threads, Insta, TikTok, or in the comments section on Spotify or YouTube. The website is to come down the line, so much more with that. We appreciate you peeling back with us and I hope to do so much more with you in the future. Take care, y'all.